All right, well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to our NCRAN December webinar. And thank you for joining this morning. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedules. My name is Chelsea Byers, and this month's topic is Adjust, Adapt, Accommodate Alzheimer's in the Holidays. A little bit why I chose this topic. I started my career as an activity therapist, and I spent, I call my first chapter of my adult life as an activity therapist on a memory care unit. And it was a wonderful part of my life. It was at a VA, a veterans home. It was hard to leave. I felt like I had 39 grandpas and an extra grandma, as well as got very close to all their family members. I have a master's degree in gerontology. I then went and worked for the Alzheimer's Association out of St. Louis. I did professional education for the St. Louis Alzheimer's Association for a couple years. In that position, we covered 38 counties, 28 in Missouri and 10 in Illinois, teaching about various aspects of Alzheimer's and dementia. And I've been with U of I Extension, University of Illinois Extension now for 16 and a half years. That's really hard to believe and say. But a lot of my focus has been on brain health, keeping brains healthy now, but also I keep a foot in teaching about Alzheimer's, working with caregivers and those topics. I feel like a lot of times families first find out that their loved one something's going on when families come back at the holidays and they think, oh gosh, something's changed with mom or dad, or they see things maybe aren't managed as well in the household at the holidays, or somebody who's local keeps trying to say things are changing, and on the phone the loved one is good, but they don't really realize the changes until they come home and they see the changes, right? But this program is more about trying to make plans ahead of time to have a good holiday season. So whether it be for family members who have a loved one with Alzheimer's or another form of dementia, to think of things a little ahead of time. We have that quote from Benjamin Franklin, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. So maybe, if we think a little bit ahead of time, maybe we can um, have a little bit better experience. So feel free to jump in, ask questions as we go. This is for you, but I hope you can learn something, have a takeaway. Again, we're just going to go through some things to think about, as we're planning or working through holidays with our loved ones with a form of dementia. I just started with kind of thinking about the words I chose for the title. We have these words here, adjust, adapt, accommodate, and, they all kind of lean into each other. And really, our goal is just to make the holiday comfortable for that individual, right? Not only make it comfortable, but make it safe. So we're all adapting and adjusting to their health condition. So wherever they are on that Alzheimer's journey. And we need to accommodate and provide what they need, but also what does the caregiver need? Oftentimes, that journey is very difficult for that caregiver. So we need to think about the caregiver also as we're going through that. And initially, I thought I was going to break up this presentation by, ways to adjust, ways to adapt, and ways to accommodate, but I realized they're all together. And so I did not do that. Um, all right. So, when we think of dementia-friendly tips, we're going to kind of just go through the whole program thinking in that frame of mind. In the holiday season, hopefully it's a joyful time for families, a time where people come together, share traditions. But as we know, it can also be overwhelming. It can be stressful for any of us. And then you add on the layer of, somebody who has dementia. But hopefully with some adjustments, we can still enjoy the holidays and those individuals can still participate in, some traditions that have always been important to them and families. But we might have to adjust those traditions, right? We might have to rethink how we get together or when we get together. So we're gonna, think about things we can do again to adjust, adapt, and accommodate to make the season enjoyable. Um, and just kind of think lessen frustrations, that whole adage of first do no harm, right? Um, uh, so think about that, and we'll continue through. All right, so we're going to start with thinking about decorations. When we think about decorations, some just tips to think about are be mindful of overstimulation. You might want to tone down decorations. You might want to avoid blinking lights or large decorative displays that could cause confusion. You might want to be mindful of decorations that cause clutter or require you to rearrange familiar rooms. Oftentimes, people who are going through their disease process, really thrive in routines. And so when you move furniture around, it can cause increased confusion. So think about how you can maintain um, room setups as much as possible and still decorate without increasing confusion. If you have to, I know I was helping my parents decorate and, we rearranged a whole room just to put a tree up in front of a window. That's very important for my mom. The tree is in front of the window. But sometimes we have to change our expectations if that's going to cause more issues for our loved one, right? Some things to think about are safety concerns. Some holiday decorations look edible. So if the decoration has berries on it, that could be mistaken for something that they could eat. Are there artificial fruits sitting around? When I was doing consulting for the Alzheimer's Association, we had an assisted living facility who said that they had an individual who took a bite out of a styrofoam plastic or styrofoam fruit, holiday fruit. If it looks like a fruit to them, it's edible. And so we need to be mindful of scanning our environments and saying, what could be a safety concern here? Maybe avoid fragile decorations that could be broken if they get bumped into. Sometimes people like to pick up and walk around with things. Are they going to drop it? So be mindful of, what could be a concern in the environment. Also, be mindful of anything that could increase risk of falls. So, where are light cords placed? Are you putting out extra holiday mats? Do you have decorations on the floor? Those kind of things. Those are safety concerns that we need to be mindful of. Are you burning candles? Could this be a fire hazard or could somebody get burned? Those kind of things are just some decorating things that we should probably keep in mind in and around our homes. All right, then moving to kind of holiday gatherings, I want you to visualize what does your celebration look like? So just take a moment, visualize your celebration, and is anybody willing to unmute and share? Like, are there a lot of people? Is there music? Are there games? Like, is there a lot of food or little food? Like, how does that look for you and your family? Or you can put it in the chat box. Or are there lots of celebrations that you have to get to in one day or 2 days? No takers, that's fine. So I'll just give you, yeah, I have somebody say holiday gatherings are often chaotic and lots of noise. Yeah, so when I was a child, I know we were schlepped around a lot. And um, we were, trying to get to, each side of the family. We had our own, we were getting, shuffled. My mom has a very large family, so there's over 55 people in a house, on one side. They're loud. Everybody's loud. It's big. There's lots of children running around. There's chaos. So some people say small gathering. Somebody says minimal visits. Grandpa's 100. Seeing some people pop in. Answers, thank you. So we need to think about, what does your celebration look like? Is it all smashed together? Do you have lots of places to go? Is it quiet and intimate? Is it easygoing? Is it loud? Is it long? Some families start at a certain time and they eat lunch and then they all stay all day and they warm up the food and they have dinner and it's a long day. So when we think about these holiday gatherings, we need to really think about, um, is it going to be overwhelming for the individual? And if it's going to be too overwhelming, maybe it's better to have smaller gatherings. Maybe people come and visit the loved one, little by little, family by family. People schedule their visits. Maybe everybody gets together and the loved one just comes and is there for a short amount of time. And then, they leave. Maybe there's a quiet space in the home where the person can kind of check out and get away from the chaos or the loudness. And then people go visit that person in that quiet space. Anytime you can set it up for a, a good conversation, that's going to be a win. And to diminish the possibility of, kind of a reaction or what people sometimes call a behavior, you want to try to set it up, so have a quiet place. I always tell people in general, it's better to, turn off all the external things, turn off the radios, turn off the TVs. If you want them to be focused in on the conversation or the people, you need to kind of take out all that extra noise. And with holidays, there's lots of times a lot of things going on. So trying to set up the space for the optimal, engagement. Okay, we have a thing. Yeah, somebody's trying to figure out what that's going to look like. Somebody's moved into memory care. Yeah, we're going to talk about that. And so, also think about, when do you have this celebration, right? So it doesn't have to be on the holiday in time. A lot of times, if you're like our family, one family always does it on Christmas Eve. Like, it is Christmas Eve, be there, be square, right? Like, it's Christmas Eve at 6 p.m. Now, with Alzheimer's and dementia, people start sundowning in that early evening time. So that's really not a good time for somebody. So maybe you move your holiday gathering to a brunch or a lunch, because that time of day is not optimal. That evening time, they've run out of gas, right? Their optimal time is in the morning, early afternoon. You need to hit them when they're strong. So think about the time of day that you get together. um, we need to be on their schedule. They cannot adjust to ours. All right. I always say they set the pace and we have to match their pace, right? We can't rush them. And so, the holidays oftentimes are hustle bustle. We can't rush somebody with dementia. Excuse me. So think about, they lead and we have to kind of match them. Also think about their routines and schedules. We'll talk more about that later. If they nap every day at a certain time, or they get tired and they at a certain time, like, make sure there's a place for them to rest. If you're at somebody else's home. So again, let go of those have tos, need tos, things that you feel are like traditions. Also think about the environment as far as location. They're going to thrive better in familiar surroundings. So, where are you going to celebrate? Um, Also, if somebody, um, excuse me, I need a cough, sorry. All right. Um, Think about how you can connect through technology. If you have somebody at a distance and you can maybe use technology, it could be difficult for them if they're depending on where they are in their journey. But if you can set that up for them, you could try to see if that works for somebody, if that's a way to connect somebody at a distance so they can see them. So they might have a better connection of who they're talking to than over a phone. So just some things to think about. Also, think about how long the gathering is. Um, they might not be able to do like the full time gathering, like I mentioned earlier. You might need to just, you know, go for a short amount of time and then have an exit plan. Or don't even have an exit. You don't have to have an excuse, but just know that you might need to leave earlier than the rest of the family. So just be flexible, really. Um, Also, if there's a caregiver or if you're the caregiver, it's okay to ask for somebody to spend time with that person, or you jump in and spend time for that individual so the caregiver gets respite and they can go enjoy the holidays also. So think about if it's your family member, how you can also, take turns if somebody needs more help or assistance or to be watched closely or those kind of things. So the caregiver gets time to have an enjoyable holiday as well. All right, now we're going to talk about preparing others. So, oftentimes, if you're the caregiver, you understand where the person is on their journey, but maybe the people who are coming home or the where you're going to celebrate the holidays don't understand maybe the full picture of where the loved one is. And so you might want to think about preparing them and acknowledge that things have changed, right? Prepare them for things that they might see or uh, understanding they might repeat questions or share ways to engage with them or communicate with them. Um, or just by adjusting their expectations. So it's not frightening for kids or, offer ideas of how to, help the loved one or how to, just make the whole thing less uncomfortable for anybody who hasn't been around the person for a while. So think about that. Maybe uh, maybe they're not used to communicating on a regular basis. So you might want to just remind them, if they say something wrong, don't interrupt them or correct them. Let them finish their thoughts. Let them have more time to answer. Just some good communication tips that you're used to when you're, communicating with them. Um, because you really don't want them to get the individual with dementia to get more frustrated. And so you're trying to prepare the other visitors who are coming to you, or if you're going to someone's house, to have the best experience possible for everybody, right? So just give a little update, let them know what's going on. Again, offer some little communication tips, and then you should set you all up for a better holiday. All right. Another tip for you with your loved one with Alzheimer's or dementia is maybe show them pictures of who will be coming to the house or who you're going to go see, and just do some reminiscing about, oh, the kids are coming, or we're going to go see your siblings, and show pictures and talk about names, just to kind of put them in the forefront of their brain. They may or may not remember when you go see them, but it's okay. It's just something that might help, do a little reminiscing ahead of time. Um, you know, but don't do any kind of questioning and like, do you remember me? I think it's really hard for individuals when they start feeling like they're being bombarded with questions, like memory questions. That gets really, really hard. The next thing we're going to talk about is rituals and traditions. Oftentimes, families have a lot of traditions or rituals at the holidays. And, sometimes we stress out to keep those traditions or rituals carrying on. So ask yourself, is it important that we do all these things? Or would it make my life less stressful if we just cut back? Or what's the most important ritual for us? And so, I mentioned earlier, my mom's family always gets together at, 6 p.m. Christmas Eve. Um, is the date and time the important piece, or is it about everybody coming together? Right? So think about um, what is the most important piece. For somebody, it might be a religious service. Think about, is there an early service that may be less crowded to avoid crowds? Or should you maybe sit towards the back of uh, the place of worship so you can exit if necessary? Or can you watch a service on TV to meet that need? So think about how you can still do some of these things that are important, but maybe what is best for you and the individual at this point on their journey. You know, um, are there certain songs that are important or certain dishes that are important? And maybe we're not making, five dishes, but maybe, it's we're making two dishes that are important, So think about the traditions, think about the rituals, and maybe we just need to simmer down to what is manageable. And so it's a less stressful holiday. The next thing we're going to talk about is, festive foods and meals, which kind of goes along a lot of times with, our rituals. Um, but a lot of times there's lots of food at holiday gatherings. So I want you to think about your holiday gatherings and think about how like the food is laid out. Do you guys just throw in the chat box? Do you do like a buffet? Is it like a sit down meal, family style? Um, just throw in there like, how do you guys like do foods? I see some buffets. All right. That's how it is in our family because we're more people. Um, and then think about everything's on the table, pass the dishes around, sit down meals. Um, so think about what is going to be the best for the person with, yeah, food and kitchen, and then kind of people go through and then come sit down. Think about what is going to support the person who might be experiencing some challenges here, right? Um, so if they're having any difficulties, um, you might want to think about, what's all on the table first of all. A lot of times we want to decorate our tables, we want to do all these things that make it very pretty. Um, but again, maybe that's too much clutter and it can be distracting. So if we really want them to focus on eating their meal, we might need to minimize um, the decorations on the table. Um, so, so think about that first. The second thing to think about is it is good to have a distinguish the plate from the table. So you can have, like a festive red uh, tablecloth and a white plate, because then there's a good color contrast between those two things. So then they can really see their plate. So that is a good thing, to have that color contrast between the table and the plate. But maybe not piling on a whole bunch of things on their plate, because that might be overwhelming, when they have too many choices. So maybe just start with, a few things on the plate first, depending on where they are along their journey. So then they can, eat that first. If people are having trouble with managing silverware, choose the finger food items. Make sure there's finger food items for you. Sandwiches are always good. Make sure, if there's some kind of meat that you can put on bread, make it a sandwich. If people don't want to sit down, as people progress, sometimes you have people who want to be pacing or walking. Anything that you can hand them that they can walk and eat, that's a way to get those, calories and meal items in them. They don't have to be seated while they're eating, they can be up and moving, or they can be, you want to maximize their success rate with getting, their food in them. So think about how you're going to make it a success for them. Um, if there's a lot of people, you might want to set up like a side, if there's it's a lot of people at the table and it's a little distracting, you might have like, a little side table of four in a separate room, and then, everybody else in another room where it's a little more quiet, and then everybody else with a lot of chatter and that kind of stuff. So it can be a little more intimate for that person, so they can focus on eating. Um, Let's see, other things to think about. Maybe try to avoid big patterns on the tablecloth. Um, let's see. Be mindful if people, as they go through the disease process, if they start having swallowing issues, um, that somebody is paying attention if the buffet is out, that somebody's managed, like, you know somebody is with them so they don't get something that they can't chew or that would be a choking hazard for them. So, there's things to be thinking about, with your loved one, depending on, where they are in the disease process. So yeah, those are just some of the things that are just some tips to think about. But it is good to try to keep people as involved as possible in the holidays. They may not be, doing all the things that they used to do, but let them help and do as much as they still can, right? So maybe they were the one who did all the baking for the holidays, and maybe they were the one who hosted at one time. But give them purpose. People need to feel needed, right? And so let them do what they can do, and be as inclusive as possible. So, maybe they're stirring something, or maybe they're, helping set a table, or, maybe you assign them some job that they can do, but give purpose whenever people can do things. Um, just consider whatever ways you can involve them in preparation, planning. Try to focus on their interests or skills, their abilities. Don't discount what they can and can't do. I think it's always a fine line of we don't want them to struggle so much, but we also don't want them to have a learned helplessness. And so, guide them and let them do as much as they can for as long as they can. It's good. This one kind of moves into kind of also additional ways to keep them engaged. Um, so I'm going to open this up to you guys before I share my ideas. So what are ways that you guys think when we're, having holidays, how can we engage with our loved ones, when we're all coming together? What are some things that we could do? You can throw it in the chat box or you can unmute yourself. What are some things that you could do with your loved one to engage? Storytelling, absolutely. Memories of holidays past. Absolutely. Tap into those memories that they have, right? And they're going to be memories from past times, right? Singing, dancing. Yeah, music is the key. Music opens up memories, right? And it's stored in a different part of our brain. And so you start playing familiar music, they will sing, they will tap their toes, they will dance or move a little. Absolutely. Photo books, get out those photo books. We're all going to be missing out someday when we have all these digital photos on our phones, but we don't have physical books to look at. Like, we all need to start printing books. Use items that make them feel comfortable. Absolutely. So what brings you comfort? Think about what brings them comfort. Is it that cup of coffee after dinner or later on? Or is there a holiday movie people enjoy? And, maybe they don't make it through the whole movie, but that's okay, right? What do you enjoy together? Wonderful. Let's see. Let's see if there's anything I have on my list that you didn't. If there's a familiar game that somebody can still play, um, that they've played throughout their lifetime, even if it's not, totally right or so good, maybe you can play together, have a helper, have partner them up with a grandchild, go for a drive, go look at Christmas lights, right? Um, you know, uh, you can do some, baking, read Christmas cards. Um, you can do, different things, right? Maybe have a craft that people work on together, that people are doing, with, a helper. But you guys hit a lot of the good ones that I was thinking of when people are kind of coming together. But engage their senses. So, maybe get some nice lotion and make sure people are lotioned up. Everybody's dry during the winter, right? Something with a good smell to enhance their senses. Have a good cup of tea or coffee. Um, nice job though. You guys hit some of the main ones. All right. And then if a loved one is at a care facility, I just have some care considerations to think about. Some families come and take their loved one out of a care facility, which is fine. Sometimes, though, they're so used to that environment that the outing doesn't go quite as planned. Sometimes it's fine, but sometimes you'll get an adverse reaction from the loved one because they're so used to that environment, right? And so depending on, the, the individual, and the hard thing is, they say you meet one person with Alzheimer's or dementia, you've met one person with Alzheimer's and dementia. People go through this in, various different ways. Um, so if you take your loved one out and you bring them to a family gathering and you see it's causing them distress, um, I would suggest you bring them back instead of trying to make them work through that holiday visit. Some things that you can do though is have um, a celebration at the facility, and so you can call and say, hey, can we have some space, at this date and time where we can bring people together. A lot of times you can bring food in, you can bring in your little presents and gifts. A lot of times there's like activity spaces that you can kind of say, hey, can I have space? So think about how it's going to be the best for your loved one. Also, again, it depends on kind of where they are on their journey. Or, think about if it's better for just people to drop in on different days, keep the celebration going, right? A large group might be overwhelming for somebody. Um, if you do take them out, make sure they have appropriate layers for the weather depending on if they've been there for a while, you know, uh, things, I don't want to say things move around in facilities, but they do. Um, People walk into each other's rooms, they think it's theirs. They don't know any better. And they're like, oh, this is a coat. It might be my coat. And they put it on, they walk around. A lot of times things are labeled and, staff try to get things back to everybody's correct place. But the reality is, people pick up things and they just think it's theirs and they walk from room to room sometimes. So you'll want to make sure they have, you might want to call ahead and be like, does my loved one, is her coat in her closet? Make sure they have the appropriate things if it's cold and those kind of things. So they're comfortable when you take them out of their space. Just some tips to think about. The next one is, I kind of talked about routines a little bit earlier. I mentioned it. Oops, sorry. Um, Try to stick to routines as much as possible. Obviously, routines are going to be a little bit different. So, disrupting routines does get a little confusing, but plan time for breaks and rest. Um, uh, just think about what you can do, to maintain routines or keep things as much the same as possible. If you're bringing somebody into a different environment, they may get up and leave the space on their own accord to seek kind of quiet time, and just kind of let them lead that and kind of notice if they're seeking kind of to get away from the noise or so much going on. Um, and then also as a caregiver, think about scheduling time, um, downtime between bigger activities, right? Uh, it takes longer to recover from the holidays. So it would be hard to do, two celebrations back to back in days. So maybe have a celebration, have some downtime, have a celebration, think about, don't plan too many things back to back and have some downtime between things. Just some things to think about. Now we're going to move into some tips for caregivers to manage the holiday season. Um, so, whenever you're thinking about whatever's causing stress, try to think about what you can scale back. When you're thinking about, um, you know, gift giving, planning, trying to make it perfect, all those things. Um, Pace yourself, right? Quiet time for you is important. It's the whole adage of, excuse me, like on the airplane, you have to put your oxygen on first to take care of your loved one, right? You want to enjoy the holidays as much as possible also. And so think about what you need to do to stay healthy and well. Um, and think about is if there's something that you need somebody to come and sit with your loved one so you can go enjoy time with some of your friends or do an activity that you want to do. Maybe there's a local event that the person with dementia wouldn't be able to attend or wouldn't enjoy, and maybe you really enjoy it. Could you get somebody to come and sit with your person or take care of them so you can do that, right? Think about things that you can do. Um, to still have some holiday joy for yourself. Also think about having boundaries. I think it's really important to give yourself permission to do what's reasonable. Trust your instincts. You're going to know the best how to support your loved one. It's okay to say no. It's okay to take a step back. Um, excuse me. It's never too late to change plans. So just because you said yes initially, maybe you said yes, 2 weeks ago to something that was, you wanted to do, but today's not a good day to go do it, right? Just be honest with your family and friends, and say, today's not a good day. We need to reschedule, and those kind of things. Um, Holiday activities should be joyful, and if it doesn't bring you joy, it's okay to um to you know to change plans. We do have a comment. Um she said that everything in the nursing home was communal. Clothes, books, furniture, everything was everyone's. It really helped reduce anxiety. I love that. Yeah. When I worked in memory care unit, it really gets tough. We always told people, don't bring in anything that you don't want lost. Make copies of everything. Like if it's pictures, don't bring the original. Make a copy of it because, people just think, oh, look at these lovely people or these lovely children, and all of a sudden they're carrying around pictures, and then we look at the pictures and we're like, whose family is this? It gets difficult. So we're like, put names on everything, names on everything. Yeah, I love that idea of the community, sense of community, communal idea. That's great. And then don't be afraid as a caregiver, to ask for help. Um, you know, and be prepared with an answer when somebody says, how can I help you? Um, but what I've learned from all my years working and teaching programs about caregiving is it's easier when people ask for specific help, because they're afraid to say, hey, Chelsea, what can I do for you? Because what if I say something that would make them uncomfortable? Like, what if I suggest that they do something that they're like, oh, that's too much for me, But if would say, hey, friend, could you grab me these two items when you run to the store? And then those are gifts that I need for a grandchild or something that I need, but they're really making my life easier by shopping for those two items. Um, because it's specific, right? And they're running to the store. It's specific. I didn't ask them to do something they were uncomfortable doing, or so sometimes people really want to help caregivers, but they don't know how. Like they want to help, but they're afraid to ask because they're not really sure what somebody might ask of them, I think. But they do want to help. They see people that need help, and they want to be helpful. So like if you can be specific with the ask, um, um, and as a caregiver, accept the help. When people are like, "Hey, can I do this for you?" Accept the help. People want to help you. And so, delegate things. Like say, if everybody's coming to my house, this is what I need. I need everybody to be bringing a dish. I need this, this, and this. I need, help with these items. Um, so learn how to ask for help and accept help. It's easier for some than others, and that's okay. Um, Also, make time for yourself during this time. Um, give yourself permission to grieve that things are not the same as they once were. that previous celebrations, this isn't the same as it used to be. Um, but take care of yourself and do something for yourself, as a caregiver. And if you're trying to support a caregiver, think of these things as you're trying to support a caregiver, right? Um, uh, and reach out for supports if as you need them. And so when we think about supports, there is a caregiver hotline through the Alzheimer's Association, and it is 24/7, so year round. It is staffed. And so, if you just need somebody to talk to, if you are like, I need somebody to help brainstorm this issue. My loved one is acting out. Now what? They are there to help you. They are there to listen. They are there, to offer, connect you to community resources wherever you are. So this is a really important resource that is available. And again, it's 24/7. The 800 number is there on the screen, 800-272-3900. So it's just a nice resource to offer support to families. Um, you know, Also, if you're going to travel, be aware of, um, if there's a convenient care or where the hospital is in case something happens. I mean, um, nobody ever wants to do that, but like it's just like insurance, you hope you never use it, right? But I know when I travel, I always want to know where the local vet is because I take my dogs with me everywhere. You hope to never use it, but it's good to know. So just be mindful of, if there's walk-in clinics locally or those kind of things. So if you or your loved one become ill, you know how to get help in the area. And then just wrapping up here, we have some gift ideas. Uh, a lot of times people are like, oh, I don't know what to get for the person or for the caregiver, so choosing gifts can be difficult sometimes. I think that useful, practical gifts are nice. Just try to keep the person's preferences in mind. Again, think about personal safety. Um, if the loved one can prepare a list of things that would be helpful, that's always the best thing. I do have a link I'm going to put in the chat box. It was an article that was recently released from the Alzheimer's Association, and it actually has gift ideas by kind of the stages. So anyway, on here, I just have a couple ideas of like gift cards, homemade goodies, ID bracelets or GPS trackers. So if somebody wanders away, that's a good thing. If there's things of interest, like I mentioned, comfy clothes that are easy on, lap blankets, night lights so people can see when they're, up at night. Assistive products. So maybe if gripping silverware is difficult because the silverware is too thin, they have like built up silverware. Or if like when they try to scoop their food, the food falls off the plate. There's plates with like ridges on the edges. So when they scoop their food, it hits the edge and then the food gets on the spoon. There's different things that can make people's lives much easier. So instead of somebody needing to feed somebody, they can still do it themselves. They just need adaptive equipment to be successful, right? So there's lots of things out there to make people successful. You just need to know what you need. Um, uh, there's like grippers, like plates with grippers on the bottom. So like if they're pushing really hard on a plate and the plate keeps moving away from them, there's like little grippers. You can also just put a jar opener, a jar gripper underneath a plate to give it some grip. That's something you might have in your house. Just so assistive products can help people stay independent a little bit longer. A digital frame might be a nice gift, really for any person. My grandma has one, and all of us grandkids have the code to send pictures to it, so we can refresh the pictures as we want from anywhere. An outing, take them out. It could be like, I'm going to take you to go get ice cream. I'm going to take you to go, go see the Christmas lights, or I'm going to go take you, um, to go see something that they enjoy, right? Um, when I was an activity therapist, I took all the people in our unit out on a bus trip at least 4 times a year. Um, and it was very interesting because changing their scenery, they would come back and our second shift would always say they ate so much more that night because they were stimulated. Right? That change of scenery stimulated them and they all ate better those evenings. So I'd make sure they got out in the springtime, see things in bloom. It's summer, things look different in the summer. In the fall, we'd see like the leaves changing and things. And it would just be interesting to see what people noticed, on those trips. Then in the wintertime, we would see Christmas lights. But, people need it. It's nice to have a change of scenery or to go out for a drive. And then some caregiver ideas, gift cards, tickets to something they might enjoy, an afternoon off, respite. People need to have downtime. People need a break. Some kind of treatment, spa service, self-care. Think about those kind of things. I'm going to open it up for actually, if you want to throw in the chat box some other ideas that you have, things that you might have given, some things that you can think of that would be good gift ideas to share with the group, that would be helpful. And then I'm going to put up an evaluation on the screen. You can scan that, and I have a link for it as well. And then I'm going to open it up to questions. So what kind of questions do you guys have for me on this topic? I kind of covered a lot today. Um, so we don't do any registration with this one. We will post it on our NCRAN website. Um, Hold on, I'll put that on here. It will take a little bit to get posted. Um, that's where our recordings live. Um, oh, thank you. Thank you, Pamela. Um, we don't share the slides, and there's not much on the slides really. Thank you for the enjoying the topic. I guess the gift ideas would be a thing. The link is in the chat box for some ideas. Um, oh, the title here. Yeah, I'll type that in the thing. I was like, you could probably just put Alzheimer's in the holidays, but it is technically adjust, adapt, accommodate. You just put Alzheimer's in the holidays. That's fine. You don't need all that. Alzheimer's in the holidays. They'll know it was me. Uh, yeah. So, any other questions? Well, I hope you learned something helpful. This is a topic that's very near and dear to my heart. I'm very passionate about this. I know it's a tough journey, but one that when we know better, we can do better. And that's everybody's goal, right? Just how can we do a little bit better? Here's my information if anybody wants to reach out to me. I'm happy to help or answer questions if you ever have a question. Um, Thank you, everybody. I hope you have a nice holiday season and have a nice weekend. Thank you. Yeah, please reach out, Kelly.
Thank you. Sorry. Hi, Chelsea. Thank
Hmm.
you. I just wanted to say hi. I'm at the University of Kansas Alzheimer's Disease Research Center,
Oh, wonderful.
and I host a webinar on Thursdays
Okay.
about Alzheimer's and brain health. And so I'm looking at my schedule for next year and would love to maybe talk about having you come and tell us some things. I don't know what yet.
Okay.
But like you probably have some things you could tell us.
Yeah, yeah. One of the areas I really enjoy covering is either communication and behaviors.
Yeah.
That's an area that families really struggle with, and understanding that behaviors are really communication, and learning how to decipher what they're actually trying to tell us.
Yeah.
And so that's one that I'm really passionate about.
Yeah.
And so, but any time, I mean, yeah, I have a lot of experience here. I joke, my coworker at the Alzheimer's Association, when we were working together, she was an OT by nature. And when we would do site visits and stuff, when somebody would have like, when they would be like, okay, we have this behavior we need you to solve, Teresa would always be like, and I'd be like,
Yeah.
why are you afraid of this? I'm like, you just have to figure out what is the underlying reason? I mean, they're telling us something. There's something that has triggered this. And I'm like, I mean, it's just, yeah. And you have to just keep asking questions or paying attention. Like there is a reason for most things. It's just not, that's one thing that really bugs me. Is I'm like, that's just Alzheimer's. I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
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 So, um, yeah. So it's just figuring it out. So, but yeah,
Okay.
save my information. I'd love to hear
Yes.
from you and let me know how I can help. So,
That's wonderful. Thank you so much.
yeah.
This was great. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays. Take
All
care.
right. Bye.
Bye.